Hello there and welcome to this digital photo video tutorial. I'm Phil Hall and I'm going to be explaining the Smart Sharpen filter. Hopefully you've already seen my video looking at the unsharp mask and high pass filters and explaining the benefits of those and how to sharpen your image correctly, but I thought I'd just show you Smart Sharpen as well. So it first appeared on CS2 and it offers even more control than the other two sharpening filters I've already discussed. So I'll just bring it up. It's under filter. If you go down to sharpen, there it is, Smart Sharpen there. So click on that, you'll get this big dialog box pop up. Smart Sharpen is probably most closely linked to the unsharp mask, and as you can see we've got amount and radius as we did with the unsharp mask dialog box. But there's a subtle difference. Instead of threshold, this time we've got remove, and next to it we've got the choice of Gaussian blur, lens blur or motion blur. So to clearly understand what's going on here, I think it's probably best if we go back and take a look at how the unsharp mask filter works, and then it'll become a lot more clearer how we've got these three filters to choose from. So the unsharp mask works by automatically duplicating our image and then applying a Gaussian blur filter. So what Photoshop then does is it compares the data with the original to the blurred duplicate image that is automatically created. So the thinking being that an area with detail will show up because there are a lot more noticeable differences between the two versions. Smart Filter works in the same way, but we've just got more choice. So rather than using Gaussian blur, we can use lens blur or motion blur. So if I was to pick Gaussian blur, we'd have a sort of a filter, Smart Sharpen filter, that works in almost the same way as the unsharp mask does. But if I pick lens blur, there's a slight difference. Because the way the lens blur filter affects the image differently to, say, a Gaussian blur filter, we get a different sharpening result, but it's very subtle. The advantage of using the lens blur filter is that it offers the advantage of finer sharpening of detail, and we can reduce those sort of sharpening halos that can be a real problem sometimes. Now if I move on to motion blur, this offers the advantage in that you can adjust the sharpening to an image with both camera or subject movement. So there's not a lot of movement going on here, but you can sort of get the idea, and you can use the angle depending on the angle of movement or blur that you've got on your image. Finally, we've got more accurate down here. So if I click on that, what that's doing is it's taking slightly longer to do the previews, but we're getting a more accurate sharpening effect, so it does exactly what the name suggests. So that's the basic tab here. As you can see, we've got basic tick there, and then you can use the sliders exactly the same way as you'd use the unsharp mask. So an amount around about 100 to sort of 125, 150 is fine, and again radius does exactly the same with the unsharp mask. But that's just the basic tab. If I click on advanced, you'll see we've got another couple of tabs here. We've got shadow and highlight. So if I just click on one of these tabs, if I click on shadow, you'll see we've got another 3 sliders to play around with. Exactly the same with highlight as well. Just click back to shadows. So we've got fade amount, tonal width and radius. So I'll just run through what each of those does. What we can do here is fine tune the levels of sharpening going on in the shadows and the highlights as well as the global image, so we can be really precise with it. So fade amount sets the amount of sharpening. So if I crank it up to 100%, that completely conceals the sharpening in the shadows here that we've applied globally. So you can treat that, if you will, like an opacity slider. I'm going to leave it on 0% so all of the shadows are sharpened. Right, moving down to tonal width, this controls the range of specific tones that are adjusted. So lower values produce more subtle results, so only affecting, in this case, the darkest areas. If I was to do that with highlights, it would be the lightest areas the sharpening would take place. Finally, we've got radius, which again works exactly the same way as before. As you can see, Smart Sharpen is very advanced. There's plenty of control there, even down to the shadow and highlight sharpening. But for most situations, we'd recommend you either use unsharp mask or high pass. But for the ultimate control, it's good to have the option of Smart Sharpen available if you wish. Anyway, hope you've learnt a lot, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks a lot.